Hello, I am Centimus Prime, and here I will be reviewing part 3 of the LEGO Creator set number 31145 Red Dragon. And so, starting off, we will be taking a look at the build itself. Now, this build, right off the bat, it doesn't look too bad. Do think it has some nice details going on for it. So, from what I've gathered, this build seems to take inspiration from a fish known as the sunfish, though it's not directly based off of that. It just takes some inspirational design cues from that. And with that, it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too bad. It's a nice simple little thing. Not really a whole lot going on with this. We can, of course, zoom in on the details. And I do kind of like what they were going for here. They use these clear pieces that was initially used for the eyes, to hold the eyes for the dragon. Here it does kind of look like bubbles, bubbling up from his little fish mouth. So that's nice. The eyes, because they are connected with all four studs, you cannot adjust them in any way unless you take the tile off and then reattach it in a different angle. So there is that. There is some neat roundedness going on with the body of the fish, which is nice. It does bring out the sunfish design. Does bring out that sunfish design for this build. Very nice. The sort of a wing fin. So wing fin things going on for the fins. They look pretty nice. They're a more simplified sort of build, but they do look nice. Again, I do appreciate the fact that despite all three of these builds having these black and blue wings, they somehow managed to use these to assemble these wings in different enough ways so that it doesn't feel quite the same. I do appreciate that, especially for this one where it has the yellow stripe going along the edge, or some roundedness going on with the fin. That's nice. And also something else I'd like to say, the fin, I much prefer the way that this sort of fish tail is put together way more than the dragon tail, because if you recall from that video, I didn't really like the way really appreciate the way that this dragon tail was assembled, mostly due to the connection here being very weak, due to just being a simple little tube connection holding up this large assembly, which was a little bit unfortunate, and yeah, it just didn't hold its positions too well. It wasn't assembled. Didn't have a nice flow. There was a lot of stuff that was breaking up the color scheme and stuff. Well, that was breaking up the shaping for the tail, which was slightly unfortunate. For here, however, I do much prefer how this tail is built. Mainly due to a few factors that I just said. It's a smaller like tail assembly, so that the smaller tube connection here, so that the smaller bar connection here does hold up, does hold all of its positions rather nicely. The tail itself is to me, the tail does feel way more like elegantly done by comparison. That feels more unified. Feels more like it feels more complete. It feels more integrated into the build than the Dragon Tail was. So I can give it that. And we can, of course, rotate this and take a look at the underside. Not a whole lot going on here on the underside. We can move the wings out of the fins out of the way. We do got this bump thing under here to the bump thing to accommodate for the wing or fins. I'm sorry. And then back here we have these extra claw things. We got these extra claw things. Not exactly sure what these are supposed to represent. There's I guess something another detail on the sunfish or whatever. I honestly can't tell. I'd say I'd just remove it to make it to at least take out the random a beige color, and I do feel it does look a little bit nicer this way. So for the rest of this review, I'm just going to leave that off. Another detail I'd like to bring to full attention is this fin thing up here. Because while, yes, it does provide a nice silhouette, do appreciate them trying to use the tail pieces for stuff other than tail. But there are some downsides to this. For one thing, there's just these two studs here that are just not being used at all, despite there being parts left over that you could use. Yeah, there's definitely parts in here that you could use to fill that in at the very least. Not only that, because of the angle that it is and that the way that it's assembled, it doesn't you're not able to use the ball joint here very well. It does go forward and back a tiny bit and left and right a little bit, but if you go too far left or right or forward or back, it'll just come off way too easily. And that's another thing. Unless you're holding this down, due to this not being connected to anything aside from just the two studs. Aside from just the two studs, unless you're holding this down, this is incredibly easy to just take off. So that's slightly unfortunate, but overall understandable, I guess. And bringing that up, we can of course bring up the articulation. So yes, there's a ball joint here there's also a ball joint here at the tail, which has some nice range of movement, and you can also rotate this. So yeah, the tail has nice movement, and of course the fins are on separate ball joints, so you can either adjust them like this. That looks really nice. I do like the way that looks too. You can adjust these. You can adjust them like this. You know, that's kind of, actually, yeah, that looks nice. I do like that. In terms of like display, you're really only able to like display you're only really able to like tripod it on the tail and two fins. It's like, it's because like because the set doesn't come with a like stand of any kind. You just sort of have to rely on just like tripoding this little fish. Yeah, and like regarding and well, yes, it does feel kind of weird they have to like stand the fish up on his fins. It's honestly, it's not too terrible. At least it's not like, at least you're able to like display the fish in some sort of like way at the very least. So I guess I do sort of appreciate that. But after that, like, but with that we can of course bring up the leftover parts, because this is the other one of the like secondary builds, so there are going to be some leftover pieces. So not counting the pieces I just took off because preferences, there's also all of these pieces that are left behind. Now, we do get a lot left behind. We still have a significant amount of just like the mixel joint pieces that are been left behind. We got some of these like azure tile pieces that are left behind. All the tooth pieces have been left behind, and of course the horn, the red like macaroni sort of pieces are left behind. Like fender piece, these hinge pieces. Like I don't think it left quite as much behind as the bird. I think the bird mode leaves a ever so slight more behind, I think. But regardless, it's still like, yeah, like, and even like one of these bar, like doubling like bar connection pieces. So even this mode still, even in this build, it still leaves a lot of like nice parts left over to do what you like with, if you so choose to leave this set in its fishy form. So I will, of course, move that all aside. Okay. And with that, that's honestly pretty much it. Much like the other two builds, there's really not a whole lot I can talk about here. It's a simple little like fishy like build. It looks alright. Overall it has about as much. Overall, it does have like some flaws, like notably the like upper fin thing right up here. That's like, from what I could tell, like the biggest flaw I have with this build. But aside from that, it does look rather nice. Does pose okay for a fish, because it does have more. Because it does seem. I don't think it has like exactly more articulation than like the bird. I think. I guess so, because it has like the extra ball joints, in like the fin. But I think that if you're counting like eyes, that this one technically has more. So I guess like this fishy has a little bit more articulation than the bird. But with that said, I honestly do think that the bird does look nice. To be honest, all three of these builds are A-okay. The dragon is notably nice for how cutesy he looks, and of course the notable, like, the dragon's nice for like the novelty of like having this little cute dragon being able to pose as nice as he does, and the bird, while not being anywhere near as articulated as the dragon, still looks really nice. Either being a parrot or a phoenix. Either or, it depends on what you imagine it being. Either or, like, regardless, it still looks like a really nice bird. Really neat. It just doesn't really articulate, it more so just stands there and just be like a nice little like decoration sort of piece. And then we have the fishy thing, which does pose a little bit more than the bird does. And also looks a-okay. So yeah, like, separately, like, these builds look alright. Because we do get a nice nice little variety with this little set. And in terms of the overall sort of in terms of this set as a whole with all three builds, like, there's certain flaws with them, but overall it's really like not that big of a deal. It's overall a really nice little set with three like nice little cute like animal builds. So overall, yeah, like I do say if you're either looking for a nice amount of like red, if you're looking for a nice amount of parts, especially like mixel joints and like red pieces, and like even like the sort of light yellow pieces. Yeah, this is absolutely a nice box for a parts pack. Nice set for a parts pack. But in terms of like the set as a whole, I do think it is a nice one. It's a nice one. Do enjoy it. Do recommend it. And with that, I think that'll be it for this review. If you enjoyed the video, consider to like and subscribe, and maybe even comment if you want. And of course, I will be posting again sooner or later.